Word for you today. It's Saturday, November the 30th. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And now we're looking forward to Christmas, huh? Our lesson today is keep praying for your children. It comes out of Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. This is a verse that is misunderstood by a lot of people, and a lot of people take it as a promise. See, the Proverbs are principles. They're not necessarily promises. They say, if you do this, then most of the time this is going to happen. It's not a guarantee, but there's a much better chance if you do this that this will happen. Take a look and let's see what this verse says. It says, we are told to train a child. In other words, don't let the child just grow up any way they want to. You need to mold this child. You need to teach them and train them how to act, how to be, how to treat other people, how to act in public, how to be when you're here and be there. We are to train and to mold our children to be respectful, kind people. It says we're train a child in the way he should go. Well, how should he go? Well, in obedience to God. But there's even more than that. See, God has placed in each child abilities, skills, talents, and we need to train them, encourage them in those ways. Sometimes we have a child who is very athletic, and so we give them opportunities to participate in sports, and we encourage them and they excel. Then you have that child that comes along who's not very athletic. They not very coordinated. They really don't have any interest in sports. And see, the problem comes then is when the parent really pushes that child to be the next great athlete. The child not only has no interest, the child really doesn't have the aptitude for that. You look at the child and see what is his abilities, what's his skills, what's his bent, and then you encourage him in that way. We're to study our children and encourage them in their strengths, in the areas that God has created them. So we are told to train a child in the way he should go, in obedience to God, but also in accordance with how he's created. And then when he is old, he will not turn from it. Remember, this is not a promise, but it's a principle. If we train them, there's a higher chance that they will heed this. Now, Proverbs chapter 29, verse 15 says, a child left to itself disgraces his mother. So we aren't just to let the child go any way they want to. We are to train them, to mold them. We all know children have had good training, turned out to be little rebels. We also know some kids who didn't have any training at all, came from terrible homes, turned out great, turned absolutely wonderful. You say, well, where does this? Again, these are principles. If you train the child in the way he is to go, there's a much better chance that child's going to turn out well. Not all children do. That's where grace comes in. That's where not giving up on them, the constantly praying for them. Keep praying for your children. There are parents today that are struggling so much because they have a wayward child, and they don't know why that child went that way. And people look at them, and sometimes parents are judged because, well, if you'd have done a better job as a parent, that child wouldn't be where they are. Well, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's the decisions that child made. Train your child in the ways to go. And when he's obedient and he's honoring God, it's wonderful. But what about that child that rebels? Don't quit praying for them. Never give up. Never, never, never give up. Don't quit. There was a man named Roger Sims who was hitchhiking his way home. He was in the military, had his military suit on, had his suitcase, and he was, a lot of guys had bags. He happened to have a suitcase. It was getting heavy. He just wanted to get home. And so he stuck his thumb out. This was years ago, back when guys came home from the service and people would pick up hitchhikers, particularly those who had military uniforms on. And his black Cadillac pulls over. And so he goes in and puts his suitcase in the back seat, climbs in the front. He says, hey, thanks for the ride. And the guy says, I'm going to Chicago. And he says, I'm not going quite that far. This would be great. So they go along and they talk and everything's going fine. And then he's about 30 minutes away from where he gets out. God just speaks to him and says, you need to talk to this man about Jesus. And so he says, I need to talk to you about something really important. And basically what he does, he laid the plan of salvation out there and asked the man if he wanted to accept Christ to come into his life. Well, the driver pulls over the side of the road, and the guy thought, he's going to kick me out now. And the man just starts sobbing. And he says, I need this. I need this so much. And he prayed to receive Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Wow, is that not exciting? He composed himself, got back on the road, went on, dropped Roger off at his place, and the man went on to where he was going. 5 years went by. Roger had gotten married, had a 2-year-old. He had business in Chicago. And the man had given him a card, his business card. And so he had kept that card, and he was going to Chicago. He thought, I'm going to look up this man. So he gets into Chicago, and he goes to the address. And man's last name was Hanover. And he goes to the address, and there's this huge building with the man's name on it. He goes, oh my goodness. So he goes in, and he asked to speak to Mr. Hanover. And he was told that would not be possible, but he could speak to Mrs. Hanover. He thought, okay, didn't know why that was. He was ushered into this office, and this lady sat behind this desk. And so she said, you knew my husband? And Roger basically told this story. He gave him a ride and gave him this card and everything. And then he said, he didn't know whether to do it, but he said, I prayed with him, and he received Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior on the way home that night. Miss Hanover broke into uncontrolled sobs. She began crying so much. And Roger's thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? And she said, I prayed for my husband for years that he would accept Christ. And so Roger said, well, where is he? He said, well, he died. See, when he let you out, he didn't make it back here. He was killed a few miles down the road in a car wreck. And see, I've not been serving Jesus for the last 5 years because I thought God had not answered my prayer. I thought God didn't care about me, so I quit serving the Lord. I'd been praying for my husband for years, and I thought he died and was unsaved. And she said, thank you. Thank you for telling me about your all's conversation. Here's a woman that prayed all along for her husband. He was killed. As far as she knew, he was not saved. Keep praying for your children. Maybe you have children that you haven't seen in a while. Maybe you're estranged from some of your children. Don't give up. Keep praying. There may be a Roger comes into their life. There may be somebody else. Maybe God has done something. Maybe your child has died, but maybe God did something before they died, that they're in the presence of God today. Main message, do the best you can raising your children, but never, never, never quit praying. Have a good day.